As hundreds of employees are let go from Stellantis, many are wondering what impact this will have on the auto industry.
Stellantis, the massive company behind Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler, is facing an unexpected crisis that's changing the automotive industry as we know it. With their backs against the wall, Stellantis is unloading inventory at shocking discounts, practically giving away cars that just months ago were selling at full price. But here's the question: why would a powerhouse suddenly need to sell off its vehicles at rock-bottom prices? Are these deals a rare golden opportunity, or could they spell trouble for those who buy in? Experts point to a mix of falling sales, massive unsold inventories, and strategic decisions that have only exacerbated their problems. With warehouses packed with unsold vehicles, Stellantis has turned to deep discounts to attract buyers, offering cars at prices that would have seemed impossible a few years ago. But there's a catch. While these offers might look like a great deal on the surface, the reality could be quite different. What led Stellantis to this point, and why are they so eager to empty their inventory now? Let's take a deep dive into Stellantis' history, current struggles, and the potential fallout for both the industry and consumers. Plummeting sales and rising inventory. Stellantis has been facing a severe decline in sales across its major brands, and the statistics are alarming. In just the past 5 years, Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler have seen an average sales drop of nearly 40%. Jeep's sales, once the crown jewel of rugged American-built SUVs, have dropped by an astonishing 44% since 2018. Dodge, the brand synonymous with muscle and speed, has suffered an even more shocking fall, a 67% decrease in sales since its peak in 2013. Chrysler, with its limited lineup, has also been struggling to maintain relevance in a market that's increasingly shifting toward SUVs and electric vehicles. These numbers are not just disappointing, they indicate a company in crisis. In response to declining demand, Stellantis initially made some production adjustments to prevent inventory from piling up. However, they quickly shifted gears, ramping up production in hopes of boosting their inventory numbers, only to find that the market wasn't responding. As a result, Stellantis is now sitting on a staggering 1,400,000 unsold vehicles. For perspective, that amount of idle inventory is virtually unheard of in the industry and signals a serious problem. This surplus is putting enormous pressure on dealerships across North America, which are struggling to move cars off their lots. Each unsold vehicle represents a loss, not only in potential sales revenue, but in carrying costs, as dealerships are forced to pay for the storage and upkeep of these unsold cars. In a bid to move their inventory, Stellantis has slashed prices, offering discounts that are difficult to ignore. But this sudden drop in prices also risks devaluing the brand and creating a sense of desperation that savvy consumers may see as a red flag. Is this an opportunity for buyers to get a bargain, or a sign that these vehicles are losing their worth faster than they're selling? This inventory crisis paints a clear picture of a company in trouble, and one that is now scrambling to find a way out before it's too late. The deep discounts and hidden costs. Stellantis' strategy to offer steep discounts is an attempt to salvage what's left of their finances, but this move isn't without risks. For the consumer, it might look like a dream come true, buying a new car at a fraction of its original price. However, many of the vehicles being offered at these bargain prices are outdated models that have been sitting in dealership lots for months, if not longer. These cars lack many of the features that today's buyers are looking for, such as advanced safety technology, modern infotainment systems, and higher fuel efficiency. So while these cars may be available at a lower price, they could end up costing buyers more in the long run as they spend on maintenance and upgrades. Additionally, the resale value of these cars is likely to be lower due to their age and the market's perception of Stellantis' financial instability. Vehicles from a brand facing bankruptcy might not hold their value as well as cars from more stable manufacturers, which could lead to depreciation issues for buyers down the line. Industry experts are warning consumers to proceed with caution, as the short-term savings could be offset by long-term costs. For Stellantis, the decision to offer such drastic discounts is a double-edged sword. On one hand, they need to clear their inventory to avoid further financial losses. On the other, these discounts risk devaluing their brands, potentially damaging the long-term perception of vehicles like Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler. A brand that suddenly offers deep discounts may be perceived as desperate, which can erode consumer confidence. Stellantis is walking a fine line, and the impact of these discounts could shape the company's reputation for years to come. CEO Carlos Tavares under fire. As Stellantis troubles continue to mount, CEO Carlos Tavares has become a focal point for criticism within the company and beyond. The Stellantis National Dealer Council recently issued a scathing letter that placed much of the blame for the company's decline on Tavares' short-term decision-making. According to the council, Tavares has been overly focused on strategies that boost profits in the short term, such as aggressive cost-cutting and inventory reductions, but at the expense of the company's long-term health and sustainability. The council's criticisms have sparked a major controversy, highlighting a growing rift between Stellantis' corporate leadership and its network of dealerships. Many dealers feel abandoned, arguing that Tavares' decisions have left them with an overwhelming amount of unsold inventory and little support to weather the storm. These dealerships are the front line of Stellantis' business, and without their success, the company's struggles are only likely to worsen. The council's letter suggested that Tavares' approach has not only harmed sales, but also eroded trust within Stellantis' own ranks. Beyond Stellantis, the automotive industry has taken notice of the challenges facing Tavares and his leadership team. Industry analysts are closely watching Stellantis as a case study in corporate mismanagement, noting that Tavares' focus on short-term gains may have jeopardized the company's future. Some have even questioned whether Tavares has the vision to steer Stellantis through this crisis, with one prominent industry expert calling his strategy a recipe for disaster. For Tavares, the criticism is a stark reminder that leadership in the automotive industry requires more than just financial savvy. It demands a commitment to long-term growth and innovation. Is this the end of an era? Stellantis' troubles aren't just affecting its own bottom line, they're causing ripples throughout the automotive industry. The company's struggles have prompted experts to ask whether this could mark the end of an era for traditional car brands that have failed to adapt to a changing market. The industry is undergoing a seismic shift, driven by the rise of electric vehicles, changing consumer preferences, and an increasing emphasis on sustainability. Stellantis, however, has been slow to embrace these changes, leaving it vulnerable as competitors adapt more quickly to the new landscape. One well-known industry analyst didn't mince words, saying that Stellantis is a prime example of a company that's been left behind by the industry's evolution. They're still trying to push gas-guzzling SUVs and muscle cars while the market is moving toward fuel efficiency and electric options. Unless Stellantis makes some serious changes, they're on a one-way path to irrelevance. Another analyst pointed out that Stellantis is facing stiff competition from brands like Tesla, Ford, and GM, which have all made significant strides in the electric vehicle market. While Stellantis is stuck with a mountain of unsold gas-powered vehicles, companies like Tesla are setting sales records. The market is telling us that the future is electric, but Stellantis seems to be living in the past. This lack of innovation could prove fatal for Stellantis if they can't pivot quickly enough to keep up with the industry's direction. Stellantis' struggles are a wake-up call for the entire automotive industry. If a company as large and established as Stellantis can find itself on the brink of collapse, it raises serious questions about the future of traditional car manufacturers. For consumers, this could mean fewer choices as companies fail to keep up with changing demands. And for Stellantis, the clock is ticking, caught in the crossfire. While Stellantis' leadership struggles with high-level strategy and brand survival, the real burden is falling heavily on their dealership network. Dealerships are the face of the company and its brands, and they're the ones left holding the inventory and facing the brunt of Stellantis' sales slump. With 1,400,000 vehicles piling up, dealers are drowning in unsold cars and facing mounting costs just to keep these vehicles on the lot. Every unsold car on a dealership's lot is not just lost revenue, it's an expense for the dealer, as they need to cover storage, maintenance, and other holding costs. For the dealers, the situation is dire. Many are feeling frustrated and abandoned, expressing that Stellantis' leadership has left them in a financial bind without the support they need to move these cars. The Stellantis National Dealer Council, which represents the interests of these dealers, has been vocal about their discontent. They've issued stark warnings about the potential long-term damage that Stellantis' strategies are causing. Some dealers have even questioned if they can continue to stay afloat if the situation doesn't improve soon, as their expenses continue to mount and profits dwindle. This friction between Stellantis' leadership and its dealers is only adding fuel to an already explosive situation. Dealerships play a crucial role in the automotive sales cycle, and their dissatisfaction could have a ripple effect throughout Stellantis' operations. If dealers can't find a way to clear inventory, it will put even more pressure on Stellantis' bottom line, potentially accelerating the company's slide toward toward bankruptcy. The lack of effective communication and support from Stellantis to its dealer network is further deepening this divide, creating an us versus them mentality that could have lasting consequences. The shift away from traditional engines. As Stellantis attempts to navigate the turbulent waters of the automotive industry, they've been trying to make a shift toward modernizing their lineup. One of the biggest and most controversial changes Stellantis has introduced is the transition away from traditional V8 engines, a move that sparked significant debate among consumers and dealers alike. Stellantis recently unveiled the Hurricane twin-turbo inline-6 engine, which is set to replace the iconic V8s in several Dodge and Jeep models. This new engine promises to improve fuel economy and reduce emissions, aligning Stellantis with industry trends and environmental regulations. However, this decision has been met with a mixed reception for die-hard fans of the Dodge and Ram brands, which are synonymous with raw power and performance. The shift away from the beloved V8 engines feels like a betrayal. Many loyal customers are not thrilled about switching to a turbocharged 6-cylinder engine, fearing it will lose the thrilling power and sound that define these vehicles. In fact, some fans have taken to social media to voice their dissatisfaction, with one notable automotive YouTuber calling the move a sellout and suggesting Stellantis has lost touch with its core customer base. On the dealership side, the reaction has been just as divided. Dealers are now faced with the challenge of selling these new models to customers who may be resistant to change. This shift towards smaller, more efficient engines is part of Stellantis' broader strategy to comply with stricter environmental standards, but it's a risky bet. If consumers reject the new engine options, Stellantis could see an even greater drop in sales. It's a gamble that could pay off if the market embraces the change, but it could just as easily backfire, driving away the loyalists who have kept Dodge and Ram thriving for decades. Ineffective incentive strategies. Amid mounting inventory and declining sales, one might expect Stellantis to introduce aggressive incentives and promotions to help dealers move vehicles. However, Stellantis' incentive strategy has been lackluster at best, and this misstep is proving to be a major disadvantage. While other automakers are boosting their discounts and financing options to attract buyers, Stellantis has opted for a more limited approach, leaving dealers to fend for themselves in an already competitive market. Dealers are growing increasingly vocal about this lack of support, claiming that Stellantis' minimal incentive spending is putting them at a severe disadvantage. It feels like we're being left out to dry, one dealer representative commented in a recent interview. Without significant promotions, it's almost impossible to attract buyers, especially when other brands are offering much better deals. This sentiment is widespread, and it's easy to see why dealers are frustrated. The rising costs associated with holding unsold inventory, coupled with the lack of substantial incentives, are making it extremely difficult for dealerships to turn a profit. Stellantis' reluctance to ramp up incentives has left dealers in a bind. Many dealers have reported that they are now facing the prospect of financial losses if they cannot move inventory soon. Some are even considering whether they may have to shut down if conditions don't improve. This situation highlights a significant misalignment between Stellantis' corporate strategy and the realities facing their dealerships. If Stellantis fails to recognize and address the importance of dealer support, they risk further alienating the very network that's essential to their survival. Rising prices amid low sales. With sales on the decline, Stellantis made the controversial decision to increase the prices of its vehicles in an effort to maintain profit margins. This move has left many scratching their heads, wondering how a company in such a dire situation could justify raising prices when sales are already falling. The reasoning behind this strategy, according to Stellantis, is that higher prices will help offset the losses from declining demand. However, this approach is a double-edged sword, as it risks pushing even more potential buyers away. Yet, in a market where consumers are tightening their budgets and shopping more selectively, Stellantis' decision to hike prices seems like a risky move that could backfire spectacularly. The increased prices are making Stellantis vehicles less affordable, especially at a time when consumers are already dealing with economic pressures like inflation and rising interest rates. With these factors in play, Stellantis may have underestimated how price-sensitive the market has become. The effects of Stellantis' pricing strategy are already starting to show. Jeep, for example, saw its sales drop by 9%, while Ram experienced an even more painful 20% decline. For a company that's struggling to regain its footing, these numbers are concerning. By raising prices, Stellantis is essentially betting that its vehicles can command a premium despite their brand struggles and the broader economic uncertainty. But in a highly competitive market, this approach may only drive consumers to competitors offering more affordable options. dealerships are feeling the impact as well, as they're now tasked with selling higher-priced vehicles to buyers who are increasingly hesitant to spend. The lack of affordable models in Stellantis' lineup is pushing potential customers to consider other brands, and many dealers fear this trend will only continue unless Stellantis reconsiders its pricing strategy. Some industry insiders have even speculated that this pricing approach could be the final nail in the coffin for Stellantis, as it alienates the very customers they need to bring them back from the brink. Limited lineup and an uncertain future. Among Stellantis' brands, Chrysler is perhaps facing the most daunting challenges. Once a symbol of American automotive excellence, Chrysler now finds itself with an extremely limited lineup that is struggling to compete in today's diverse and competitive market. As of now, Chrysler's portfolio has been reduced to just 2 models, the Chrysler 300 sedan and the Pacifica minivan. This lack of diversity is not only alarming for the brand's image, but also severely limits consumer choice, placing Chrysler at a major disadvantage against rivals that offer a broader range of vehicles. In today's automotive market, SUVs and crossovers have become the dominant choices for many consumers, leaving sedans and minivans with dwindling interest. Chrysler's decision to stick with these 2 models, particularly the 300 sedan, which has seen better days, is a risky one. With minimal innovation and limited appeal, the Chrysler 300 is struggling to remain relevant, and the Pacifica, while popular among families, cannot sustain the brand on its own. Consumers are now flocking to brands that offer a wider range of SUVs and crossovers, making Chrysler's limited lineup seem outdated and out of touch with market trends. What's more, Chrysler's current models are starting to feel overpriced compared to competitors. For instance, the Pacifica is facing stiff competition from the likes of the Honda Odyssey and Toyota Sienna, both of which are often seen as more reasonably priced alternatives with similar features. This pricing strategy is hurting Chrysler's ability to attract budget-conscious consumers, who have plenty of options at more affordable price points. With an aging lineup, dwindling sales, and rising competition, Chrysler's future is looking increasingly uncertain. And unless Stellantis can find a way to revitalize the brand, it may soon fade into obscurity. Discontinuation of budget models. Ram, another key brand under Stellantis, is also facing significant challenges, particularly in terms of pricing and model offerings. Recently, Stellantis made the controversial decision to discontinue the Ram 1500 Classic, which was previously the go-to entry-level model for budget-conscious buyers looking for a reliable pickup without breaking the bank. With the Classic model gone, the starting price for the base 2025 Ram 1500 now begins at a steep $42,715, a noticeable increase that has raised eyebrows among consumers and industry insiders alike. The discontinuation of the Ram 1500 Classic has effectively removed a more affordable option from Ram's lineup, pushing potential buyers to consider more expensive models. For buyers who had previously turned to Ram for its balance of quality and affordability, this shift is disappointing. It has left many feeling priced out of the brand and has driven some to explore alternatives from competitors. This increase in entry-level pricing could ultimately hurt Ram's market share, as more budget-conscious buyers are drawn to brands that still offer affordable pickup options. The price hikes aren't limited to entry-level models either. The latest trims in the Ram lineup, such as the luxurious Tungsten model and the high-performance TRX, come with eye-watering price tags that have raised concerns among dealers and consumers alike. The TRX, in particular, starts at an astonishing $98,335, putting it in a price range that's out of reach for many buyers. This trend of rising prices is making it difficult for Ram to compete, especially as economic uncertainties make consumers increasingly cautious about spending. Dealers have voiced their concerns, arguing that the lack of affordable options could drive away loyal customers and make it harder to attract new ones. Declining sales and soaring prices. Jeep, long known as a symbol of adventure and ruggedness, is another Stellantis brand that has been hit hard by declining sales and rising prices. Once a top choice for off-road enthusiasts and everyday drivers alike, Jeep has seen its sales plummet over the past few years. Between 2018 and 2023, Jeep's position among top US automotive brands dropped from 6th to 9th place. Increased competition from brands like Ford and Toyota, which are rolling out comparable models at more competitive prices, has only added to Jeep's challenges. Today, the average price of a new Jeep is over $55,000, a figure that many consumers find hard to justify. For popular models like the Wrangler Rubicon, prices can soar to around $85,000, making Jeep's offerings seem increasingly out of reach for the average buyer. While some of these price hikes can be attributed to the addition of advanced technology and safety features, many consumers feel that these changes don't justify the steep price tags. To make matters worse, external factors such as inflation and supply chain issues have driven up production costs, which Stellantis has largely passed on to the consumer. This strategy has alienated many potential buyers, who are now questioning whether a Jeep is worth the premium price. The high cost of Jeep models is dampening the brand's appeal, particularly among budget-conscious consumers who once saw Jeep as an affordable yet rugged option. In response to these challenges, Stellantis is rolling out a new strategy to boost Jeep's sales, which includes aggressive pricing tactics and promotional offers. However, it remains to be seen if these efforts will be enough to revive interest in a brand that is quickly losing its competitive edge. Overstock and a misguided shift toward electrification. Dodge, a brand famous for its muscle cars and powerful engines, is also in a state of turmoil. The brand is grappling with an overwhelming surplus of inventory, especially for models like the Dodge Hornet, which has a jaw-dropping 550 days supply sitting in dealer lots as of mid-2024. This overstock problem is partly due to intense competition in the compact SUV segment, where the Dodge Hornet has struggled to stand out. With so many alternatives on the market, consumers have been slow to adopt the Hornet, leaving dealers with a surplus of unsold units that's becoming increasingly difficult to manage. Adding to Dodge's challenges is the brand's recent pivot toward electrification. Stellantis has announced plans to electrify some of Dodge's most iconic models, including the Charger and Challenger, as part of its broader sustainability strategy. While this shift is aligned with industry trends, it has not been warmly received by Dodge's loyal fan base, many of whom are drawn to the brand specifically for its powerful gas engines. The essence of Dodge's appeal, its raw power and performance, doesn't translate seamlessly to electric models, and some consumers feel that the brand is abandoning its roots in favor of a trend that may not resonate with its core audience. Dealers are also feeling the pressure, as they're faced with moving a portfolio that seems increasingly out of touch with consumer demand. Many dealerships have reported that the inventory overload is creating financial strain, and the shift toward electric models has only added to their concerns. The uncertainty surrounding Dodge's product strategy has left dealers and consumers questioning the brand's future direction. If Dodge fails to find a balance between modernization and maintaining its traditional appeal, it could lose the loyal customer base that has supported it for years. As Stellantis pushes for electrification across its brands, the divide between corporate leadership and the customer base has grown wider. Loyal Dodge enthusiasts are worried that the thrill of the classic muscle car will be lost in the shift to electric, and dealers are frustrated by the brand's inability to align its offerings with market demand. Without a clear and compelling vision for the future, Dodge's identity and its relationship with consumers could be at risk of fading away. Overproduction and outdated models. Stellantis overproduction woes stem not only from poor sales performance, but also from a massive surplus of outdated models. This inventory crisis isn't a sudden occurrence. It's been building up over time as Stellantis continued to manufacture vehicles without aligning production with consumer demand. Many of these cars are models that no longer resonate with today's buyers, who are increasingly looking for technology, fuel efficiency, and modern design. Instead, Stellantis is left with hundreds of thousands of vehicles that are sitting idle, taking up valuable lot space at dealerships. Dealers are the ones who are ultimately bearing the financial burden of this inventory crisis. Every unsold vehicle represents a lost opportunity for profit and an additional cost in terms of maintenance, storage, and insurance. The industry standard days supply for vehicles is typically around 60 days, but some Stellantis models are far exceeding this, with inventory sitting for 300 or even 400 days. The longer these cars sit unsold, the more their value depreciates, forcing dealers to offer even steeper discounts just to get them off the lot. Industry experts have pointed out that this inventory crisis highlights a lack of foresight on Stellantis's part. In an automotive market that's rapidly evolving, Stellantis's failure to adapt its production strategy to reflect consumer demand is a critical misstep. Instead of ramping up production on models that consumers actually want, Stellantis has been stuck in a cycle of producing cars that are increasingly irrelevant in today's market. The company's reluctance to acknowledge this issue has only deepened the crisis, and without a major major shift in strategy, Stellantis' inventory issues are unlikely to resolve anytime soon. The fallout for Stellantis workers. As Stellantis grapples with its financial woes, one of the most tragic consequences has been the impact on its workforce. The company has announced a series of layoffs and plant closures as part of its cost-cutting measures, a move that has sparked outrage among employees and their communities. These layoffs are affecting thousands of workers across North America, many of whom have dedicated years, if not decades, to the company. For these workers, Stellantis' decision to prioritize profits over people is a bitter pill to swallow. The plant closures are also sending ripples through local economies, especially in towns and cities where Stellantis facilities are major employers. In many of these areas, Stellantis plants provide a significant number of jobs, and their closure leaves entire communities grappling with the sudden loss of income and stability. The layoffs and closures have fueled resentment not only among workers, but also among union representatives who have criticized Stellantis for failing to protect its workforce. The United Auto Workers UAW has condemned the company's actions, accusing Stellantis of betraying its workers and undermining the long-term health of American manufacturing. Stellantis' decision to close plants and lay off workers has drawn criticism from industry analysts who argue that these measures could hurt the company's ability to recover in the long run. By reducing its workforce and cutting back on manufacturing capacity, Stellantis risks hampering its ability to meet future demand if and when the market stabilizes. The layoffs may provide a short-term financial boost, but the long-term consequences for Stellantis production capabilities and brand reputation could be damaging. A reputation on the line. For Stellantis, the stakes are high, not only in terms of financial survival, but also in terms of consumer trust. With every news report about bankruptcy risks, layoffs, plant closures, and a struggling dealer network, Stellantis' reputation is taking a hit. Consumer trust is one of the most valuable assets a brand can have, and Stellantis is losing it fast. Buyers are increasingly wary of investing in Stellantis vehicles, fearing that the company's financial troubles could lead to issues with customer service, warranty coverage, and long-term support. This decline in consumer confidence is evident in Stellantis' sales figures as potential buyers turn to competitors who appear more stable and reliable. Trust in a brand is especially crucial in the automotive industry, where buying a car is often one of the biggest financial decisions a person makes. Consumers want to know that the company they're buying from will be around to provide service, honor warranties, and support them for years to come. Stellantis' current instability is making that promise hard to believe. Industry experts warn that once consumer trust is lost, it's incredibly difficult to regain. Rebuilding a damaged reputation requires a combination of consistent quality, reliable customer service, and a clear commitment to addressing past mistakes. Unfortunately, Stellantis seems more focused on quick fixes and short-term gains than on laying the groundwork for a sustainable future. If Stellantis cannot find a way to reassure its customer base, it risks driving away not only new buyers, but also the loyal customers who have supported its brands for decades. Can Stellantis survive? Looking at Stellantis' current situation, it's hard not to wonder what the future holds for this automotive giant. The company is facing challenges on multiple fronts: declining sales, excessive inventory, financial losses, layoffs, and a rapidly eroding reputation. Stellantis needs a comprehensive turnaround strategy, one that goes beyond temporary fixes and addresses the root causes of its problems. Whether that means a drastic shift in leadership, a renewed focus on innovation, or a complete overhaul of its business model, one thing is clear: Stellantis cannot continue on its current path if it hopes to survive. Some industry insiders believe that Stellantis' best chance for survival lies in a merger or acquisition. By partnering with a stronger, more stable company, Stellantis could potentially gain the resources and support it needs to weather this storm. However, mergers come with their own set of risks, and there's no guarantee that Stellantis would retain control over its iconic brands. For a company that has long prided itself on its legacy, merging with another entity could be seen as an admission of failure. Others argue that Stellantis should focus on reinventing itself from within, embracing the trends that are shaping the future of the automotive industry, such as electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and sustainability. But this would require a significant investment in research and development, as well as a willingness to pivot away from the company's traditional models. For Stellantis, the challenge will be finding a way to modernize without losing the essence of the brands that have made it a household name. As the company navigates this turbulent period, one question looms large. Will Stellantis be able to turn things around, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for one of the most storied names in the automotive industry? The coming months will be critical as Stellantis faces mounting pressure from shareholders, consumers, and dealers to deliver a plan that can restore confidence and chart a path to recovery. Only time will tell if Stellantis has what it takes to overcome these challenges and reclaim its place as a leader in the automotive world. So there you have it, the inside story of Stellantis' massive challenges and the potential deals up for grabs. Whether you're a car enthusiast, a longtime fan of Dodge, Jeep, or Ram, or just someone looking for a bargain, the situation unfolding at Stellantis is one that could impact the entire automotive industry. The decisions made in the coming months could determine whether these iconic brands thrive, evolve, or even disappear. What do you think? Will Stellantis be able to make a comeback, or is this the end of an era? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on this story and other breaking news in the automotive world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.